ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वद्भ्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णे स्वदामो भगते धर्मज्ञानादिभिः कलौ नष्टदृशां एषा पुराणार्को अदुदो निदः। श्रीमद्भागवतं पुराणममलं यत् वैष्णवानां प्रियं यस्मिन् पारमहंस्यम् एकम् अमलं ज्ञानं परं गीयते। तत्र ज्ञानविरागा भक्तिर्सहितं नैष्कर्म्यम् आविष्कृतं तत् शृण्वन् सुपठन् विचारणपरो भक्त्या विमुच्येन्नरः। सर्ववेदान्तसारं हि श्रीभागवतम् इष्यते तद् रसामृततृप्तस्य नान्यत्र स्याद्रतिः क्वचेत्। य एतत् श्रावयेन् नित्यं यामक्षणम् अनन्यदीः श्लोकमेकं तदर्थं वा पादं पादार्थम् एव वा श्रद्धावान् यो अनुशृणुयात् पुनाति आत्मानम् एव सः। कृष्णतुल्य भागवत विभो सर्वाश्रया प्रतिश्लोके प्रति अक्षरे नानार्थकया प्रेममय भागवत कृष्णेर श्री अंगा ताहा ते कहेन यथा गोप्य कृष्णेरंगा आदिमध्ये अन्त्ये भागवते एकया विष्णुभक्ति नित्यसिद्धा अव्यय अक्षय अक्षय अव्यया भागवत शास्त्रे से भक्ति तत्व कहे तेनि भागवत सम कोनो शास्त्र नहे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 17. Mother Parvati curses Chitraketu. Shri Sukha Uvacha Yataschantarahito Anantas Tasye Kritva Dishe Namaha Vidyadharas Chitraketu Chachara Gaganecharaha. Srila Shukadeva Goswami said, after offering obeisances to the direction from which Ananta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had disappeared, Chitraketu began traveling in outer space as the head of the Vidyadharas. सलक्ष्यं वर्षलक्षाणाम् अव्याहता बलेन्द्रियः स्तूयमानो महायोगी मुनिभिः सिद्धचारणैः कुलाचलेन्द्रद्रोणीषु नानासङ्कल्पसिद्धिषु रेमे विद्याधरस्त्रीभिर्गोपयन् हरिम् ईश्वरम्. Being praised by great sages and saints and by the inhabitants of Siddhaloka and Chanaraloka, Chitraketu, the most powerful mystic yogi, wandered about enjoying life for millions of years. With bodily strength and senses free from deterioration, he traveled within the valleys of Sumeru mountain, which is the place of perfection for various kinds of mystic power. In those valleys, he enjoyed life with the women of Vidyadharaloka by chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Hari. एकदा स विमानेन विष्णुदत्तेन भास्वता गिरीशं ददृशे गच्छन् परीतं सिद्धचानरैः आलिङ्ग्यान् क्री आलिङ्ग्या sorry आलिङ्ग्यान् कीकृतां देवीं बाहुना मुनि संसदि उवाच देव्या शृण्वन्त्या जहासोषैस्तदन्तिके. One time, while King Chitraketu was traveling in outer space on a brilliantly effulgent airplane given to him by Lord Vishnu, he saw Lord Shiva surrounded by Siddhas and Chanaras. Lord Shiva was sitting in an assembly of great saintly persons and embracing Parvati on his lap with his arm. Chitraketu laughed loudly and spoke within the hearing of Parvati. चित्रकेतुर्वाच एष लोकगुरुः साक्षात् धर्मं वक्ता शरीरिणाम् आस्ते मुख्यसभायां वै मिथुनी भूय भार्यया. Chitraketu said, Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of general populace, is the best of all living entities who have accepted material bodies. Let me read properly. Chitraketu said, Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of general populace, is the best of all living entities who have accepted metal bodies. He enunciates the system of religion. Yet, how wonderful it is that he is embracing his wife Parvati in the midst of an assembly of great saintly persons. जटाधरस्तीव्रतपा ब्रह्मवादी सभापतिः अङ्कीकृत श्रियं चास्ते गतह्रे प्राकृतो यथा. Lord Shiva, whose hair is matted on his head, has certainly undergone great austerities and penances. Indeed, he is the president in the assembly of strict followers of Vedic principles. Nonetheless, he is seated with his wife on his lap in the midst of saintly persons and is embracing her as if he were a shameless, ordinary human being. प्रायसः प्राकृताश्चापि स्त्रियं रहसि बिभ्रति ह्ययं महावृताधरो बिभर्ति सदसि स्त्रियम्. Ordinary conditioned persons generally embrace their wives and enjoy their company in solitary places. How wonderful it is that Lord Mahadeva, although a great master of austerity, is embracing his wife openly in the midst of an assembly of great saints. Shri Sukha Uvacha Bhagavanapi Chat Bhagavanapi Tachshrutva Prahasyagada Dhira Nripa Tushnim Babhuva Sadasi Sabhyascha Tat Anuvrata. Srila Sukadeva Goswami continued, My dear king, after hearing Chitraketu's statement, Lord Shiva, the most powerful personality, whose knowledge is fathomless, simply smiled and remained silent. And all the members of the assembly followed the Lord by not saying anything. Ityadam virya vidushi bhruvani bahva asobhanam rushaha devi drishtaya nirjitatma bhimanine. Not knowing the prowess of Lord Shiva and Parvati, Chitraketu strongly criticized them. His statements were not at all pleasing, and therefore the goddess Parvati, being very angry, spoke as follows to Chitraketu, who thought himself better than Lord Shiva in controlling the senses. Shri Parvatyuvacha Ayam kim adhuna loke sashta dandadhara prabhu asmad vibhanam dushtanam nirlajjanam cha viprakrit. The goddess Parvati said, Alas, has this upstart now received a post from which to punish shameless persons like us? Has he not been has he been appointed ruler, carrier of the rod of punishment? Is he now the only master of everything? न वेदधर्मं किल पद्मयोनिर्न ब्रह्मपुत्र भृगुनारदाद्याः न वै कुमारा कपिलो मनुश्च येनो निषेध्यन्ति अतिवर्तिनं हरम्. Alas, Lord Brahma, who has taken his birth from the lotus flower, does not know the principles of religion, nor do the great saints like Bhrigu and Narada, nor the four Kumaras headed by Sanat Kumara. Manu and Kapila have also forgotten the religious principles. I suppose it to be because of this that they have not tried to stop Lord Shiva from behaving improperly. येषाम् अनुध्येय पदाब्जयुग्मं जगद्गुरुं मङ्गलमङ्गलं स्वयं यः क्षत्र बन्धुपरिभूय सूरीन् प्रशास्ति दृष्टं तद् अयं हि दण्ड्यः. This Chitraketu is the lowest of Kshatriyas, for he has impudently overridden Brahma and the other demigods by insulting Lord Shiva, upon whose lotus feet they always meditate. Lord Shiva is personified religion and the spiritual master of the entire universe, and therefore Chitraketu must be punished. Nayam arhati vaikuntha pada sarpanam Sambhavita matistabdaha sadhubi paryupasitam. This person is puffed up because of his achievement, thinking, I am the best. He does not deserve to approach the shelter of Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, which was worshipped by all saintly persons, for he is impudent, thinking himself greatly important. अतः पापी यसीम योनिम आसुरीम याहि दुर्मते yateha bhuyo mahatam na karta putra kilbisham. O impudent one, my dear son, now take birth in a low, sinful family of demons so that you will not commit such an offense again toward exalted, saintly persons in this world. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Saptachitraketur Vimanaad Avaruhya Saha Prasadayam Asasatim Mudna Namrena Bharata. Shri Shukadev Goswami continued, my dear King Parikshit, when Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati, he descended from his airplane, bowed before her with great humility, and pleased her completely. Chitraketuruvacha Pratigраhnami te sapam atmano anjalim nambike Anjalina Ambike Dever Martyaya Yat Proktam Purvadishtam He Tasya Tat. Chitraketu said, my dear mother, with my own hands folded together, I accept the curse upon me. I do not mind the curse, for happiness and distress are given by the demigods as a result of one's past deeds. Samsara chakra etasmin jantur ajnana mohitaha brahmyan sukham cha dukkham cha bhunte sarvatra sarvada. Deluded by ignorance, the living entity wanders in the forest of this material world, enjoying the happiness and distress resulting from his past deeds, everywhere and at all times. Therefore, my dear mother, neither you nor I am to be blamed for this incident. नैवात्मा न परश्चापि कर्ता स्यात् सुखदुःखयोः कर्तारं मन्यते अत्राज्ञ आत्मानं परम् एव च. In this material world, neither the living entity himself nor others, friends and enemies, are the cause of material happiness and distress. But because of gross ignorance, the living entity thinks that he and others are the cause. गुणप्रवाह एतस्मिन् क शापः को न अनुग्रहः क स्वर्गो नरकः को वा किं सुखं दुःखम् एव वा. This material world resembles the waves of a constantly flowing river. Therefore, what is a curse and what is a favor? What are the heavenly planets and what are the hellish planets? What is actually happiness and what is actually distress? Because the waves flow constantly, none of them has an eternal effect. एकसृजति भूतानि भगवान् आत्ममायया येषां बन्धं च मोक्षं च सुखं दुःखं च निष्कलः. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, unaffected by the conditions of material world. He creates all the conditioned souls by his own personal potency. Because of being contaminated by the material energy, the living entity is put into ignorance and this into and thus into different conditions of bondage. Sometimes by knowledge, the living entity is given liberation. In Sattva-guna and Rajoguna, he is subjected to happiness and distress. न तस्य कश्चित् दयितः प्रतीपो न ज्ञाति बन्धुर्न परो न च स्वः समस्य सर्वत्र निरञ्जनस्य सुखेन रागः उत एव रोषः. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally disposed toward all living entities. Therefore, no one is very dear to him, and no one is a great enemy for him. No one is his friend, and no one is his relative. Being unattached to the material world, he has no affection for so called happiness or hatred for so called distress. The two terms happiness and distress are relative. Since the Lord is always happy, for him there is no question of distress. तथापि तच्छक्ति विसर्ग येषां सुखाय दुःखाय हिताहिताय बन्धाय मोक्षाय च मृत्युजन्मनोः शरीरिणां संसृतये अवकल्पते. Although the Supreme Lord is unattached to our happiness and distress according to karma, and although no one is his enemy or favorite, he creates pious and impious activities through the agency of his material potency. Thus, For the continuation of materialistic way of life, he creates happiness and distress, good fortune and bad, bondage and liberation, birth and death. Hare Krishna. We can do the remaining part tomorrow, and we'll go through the purports so far. So we are getting to hear from Narad Muni what has happened. Sukadeva Goswami is narrating to Parikshit Maharaj. He's saying, this Chitraketu is so great. How? Because he is blessed by the Lord. Lord Ananta has given him instruction, he has given him darshan, and then so the Chitraketu began traveling in outer space as the head of Vidyadharas. And then uh, it is to be understood that Maharaj Chitraketu, although surrounded by beautiful women from Vidyadhara Loka, did not forget to glorify the Lord by chanting the holy name of the Lord. It has been proved in many places that one who is not contaminated by any material condition, who is a pure devotee engaged in chanting the glories of the Lord, should be understood to be perfect. So here we can see the strange activity that we are going to see. It is definitely the plan of the Lord. So the beauty is a devotee is ready to become a puppet in the hand of the Lord. Uh, if a director is telling play the role of a beggar, one is ready to do, because you want to please the director. And here the supreme director is the Lord, and he is enacting a devotee. He is choosing a devotee for his leela. So to teach something very important. So in this way we can see Ekada Sabhimanena. Once upon a time, one time, what happened is Chitraketu was traveling in outer space on a brilliantly effulgent airplane given to him by Lord Vishnu. In the purport, Prabhupada is saying, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this connection, Bhaktim Bhutim Hari Dattva Swa Viche Vichedanu Bhutaye Devya Shapena Vritratva Nitva Tam Swantike Anayat. This is summarizing what is this Leela, what is the reason. The purport is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead wanted to bring Chitraketu to Vaikuntha as soon as possible. If I tell, it is only speculation. If I tell, it's only imagination. If I tell, it can be completely false. That's why it's always important that we can refer to the right sources. Who, here in this case, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is saying Bhaktim Bhutim Harim Dattva. So, Harim Dattva. So, it is the plan of the Lord that is happening. The Lord's plan was that Chitraketu be cursed by Parvati to become Vritrasura, so that in his next life he could quickly return home back to Godhead. There have been many instances in which a devotee acting as a demon has been brought to the kingdom of God by the mercy of God. For Parvati is embraced by Lord Shiva was natural. In a relationship between husband and wife, this was nothing extraordinary for Chitraketu to see. Yeah? So, of course, if someone tries to understand the archaeological constructions of those Hindu temples, we can see there is a lot of sculptures that are more about how one is embracing the opposite sex and opposite gender and all. So all these things, in fact, I have heard that until the foreign invasion, women were not had to be so much um, kept under protection, with all restrictions and everything. But it was after the foreign invasion in the form of um, Persians. Yeah, so things have changed. But coming back here, we can see that it was normal for Lord Shiva and Parvati, or for Lord Shiva to embrace Parvati, and that too in public. That's okay, because they didn't had any intentions. So for Parvati to be embraced by Lord Shiva was natural in a relationship between husband and wife. This was nothing extraordinary for Chitraketu to see. Nonetheless, Chitraketu laughed loudly to see Lord Shiva in that situation, even though he should not have done so. Thus, he was eventually cursed, and this curse was the cause of his returning home back to Godhead. So, hmm, we can see even a curse can be a blessing. That's what it means here. The curse that he received. But of course, who is Parvati? Of course, she is also Janani. She is also mother. And of course, in one of the verse, we can see she's addressing, "Hey son, now you go and suffer." Of course, this suffering, why will a mother do this? When she is calling Chitraketu as son, why will she punish him? Only for rectification. Because it is said, if one is coming to the material world, there are two things. One is, of course, to fulfill the plans of the Lord, to be a servant of Him. The other one is, the reason is, uh, hmm, one is to serve the Lord in His plan, to be an assistant. What I'm referring. The other reason is, yeah, sorry, yeah. Um, what I wanted to say is Mother Durga, she is helping us to go through a reformation, to become purified. So, a prison house, the purpose of prison house is not to torture people by taking away the freedom. But the purpose of taking away the freedom is so that one realizes that uh, because of his being rebellious, his freedom is lost. So Mother Parvati, she is mm, um, saying, actually, when she's saying, yeah, it appears to be a curse, definitely, but it's actually a blessing, because she's saying, okay, now you, yeah, better go and yeah, get purified. So Chitraketu is saying, Esha Loka Guru Sakshat. What did I already? Okay, we went to the purport. No, that's why I was. So one fine day when when Lord Shiva was embracing Mother Parvati, at the time Chitraketu saw this, and he was a bit. He laughed a bit loudly, but before that he was thinking, this spiritual master of general populace means, who is a spiritual master? A spiritual master is a role model. Whatever he does, everyone will follow. That's why he's saying the spiritual master of general populace is the best of all living entities who have accepted material bodies. So among all human bodies, yeah, he is the best. He enunciates the system of religion. He is the one who is giving a dharmam vakta to speak, sharirinam. Yet, how wonderful it is that he is embracing his wife in the midst of an assembly of great saintly persons. And then he's saying Jata Dharas Tivra Tapa. He is one who is locked his hair, matted hair on his head, and then he's doing very severe austerities. Tivra Tapaha, austerities and penances. Brahmavadi Sabhapati. Indeed, he is the president. Brahmavadi Sabhapati. Sabha means assembly. Uh, Pati means the head. Brahmavadi Sabha. He is teaching what? Brahmavadi. Vedic principles he is teaching. And uh, Ankir Krita Striyam Chaste. Nonetheless, he is seated with his wife. Stri Cha Aste Gata Hrir Prakrito Yatha. In the midst of saintly persons, in embracing her as if he were shameless, ordinary human being. So, in fact, Gata Harir, without shame. Harir, usually we say Hari means um, name. Mm, Harir. And Gata means Gata without that. Gata Harir means without that, devoid of shame. Prakrito yatha, person conditioned by material nature, just as like that he's doing. In the purport, Prabhupada saying Chitraketu appreciated the exalted position of Lord Shiva. Therefore, he remarked at how wonderful it was that Lord Shiva was acting like an ordinary human being. So he was amazed to see he came across a scene where he saw such a great personality like Lord Shiva has done something which maybe an ordinary person would do. Hmm? He appreciated Lord Shiva's position, but when he saw Lord Shiva sitting in the midst of saintly persons and acting like a shameless ordinary man, he was astonished. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that although Chitraketu criticized Lord Shiva, he did not offend Lord Shiva like Daksha. Daksha considered Lord Shiva insignificant, but Chitraketu expressed his wonder at Lord Shiva's being situated in that high way. He was great. And he said, ordinary conditioned persons generally embrace their wives and enjoy their company in solitary places. Oh, how wonderful it is that Lord Shiva, or Lord Mahadev, although a great master of austerity, is embracing his wife openly in the midst of an assembly of great saints. The word Vratadhara, indicates a brahmachari who has never fallen down. Lord Shiva is counted among the best of yogis, yet he embraced his wife in the midst of great saintly persons. Chitraketu appreciated how great Lord Shiva was to be unaffected even in that situation. Therefore, Chitraketu was not an offender. He merely expressed his wonder. What he saw was wonderful. That's what he was expressing. So we continue from verse number 9 tomorrow. Yeah. And next week we will continue from the remaining part of the chapter. Yeah. Thank you. By the way, happy Param Ekadashi in the month of Adhika Mass. Okay, any thoughts or comments, questions? No. Then thank you so much for joining. Jagalpatarabhyashta kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय।